The night should have belonged to me. Clinking glasses, low jazz, and laughter filled the rooftop terrace of the downtown building where I'd spent the last 7 years of my life. The setting sun painted the skyline in a soft orange glow as champagne flutes rose in celebration. "To Kelly," said Hannah, my closest friend at the firm, her glass lifted high. "From entry-level analyst to senior strategy director, you've more than earned it." A wave of cheers followed, and I smiled, heart full. This wasn't just a promotion, it was validation. Every late night, missed birthday, and weekend buried in pitch decks had finally paid off. I scanned the crowd, and my eyes locked with Vincent, my boss, my former mentor. He raised his glass, offered a tight-lipped smile, and turned away. Strange. But then again, Vincent had been strange for weeks. He'd once praised my instincts, my leadership. We used to tackle the biggest client deals together. But lately, he'd gone cold, curt in meetings, distant in the halls. At first I blamed stress. Q3 had been brutal, but something told me there was more. Still, I wasn't going to let his mood spoil my moment, until he did. As I set my glass down, ready to accept another congratulation, Vincent's voice cut through the music. "Everyone," he said, stepping into the center of the terrace, tapping a spoon against his glass. "If I could have your attention for one final announcement." A hush fell. He paused, too long. The air shifted. Something in my gut twisted. He turned to me, smirking. "Kelly, you've had your celebration. Now it's time to say goodbye. Your position is being terminated effective Friday." Gasps. Silence. My mouth opened slightly, but I said nothing. He wasn't finished. "We're restructuring," he added. "Your responsibilities will be redistributed across leadership. Nothing personal, just business." He actually raised his glass again. The music continued faintly, but the energy had drained. My colleagues froze, some staring in shock, others looking away. Hannah's face had gone pale. I should have cried. I should have screamed. I should have demanded an explanation. Instead, I smiled. "No problem," I said calmly. Vincent blinked. That rattled him. He hadn't expected grace. He wanted a scene, humiliation, a desperate plea, but I gave him nothing. "Friday, then," I added. "I'll be out by end of day." I turned back to the table, picked up my champagne, and took one last sip. People left early. Vincent disappeared. But I stayed, until the string lights dimmed and the staff began clearing plates. Because what Vincent didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd seen this coming. Weeks ago, I overheard a conversation late one night. Vincent, unaware, I was working in the next room, whispered into his phone. "She won't see it coming," he said. "Let her enjoy the party, then we cut her loose. Optics matter." What he didn't know was that I'd already taken steps. Quiet ones. Strategic ones. Thursday morning. The elevator doors slid open with a soft hiss. I walked past cubicles filled with forced typing and awkward glances. This place didn't run on loyalty, it ran on silence. I sat at my desk and opened my secure personal drive. Inside, a detailed audit of Vincent's financial misconduct. It had started 2 months ago. I was reviewing expansion budgets for our Singapore project and spotted something off. Funds rerouted through shell vendors, payments to non-existent companies. One vendor's address, a frozen yogurt shop in Montana. When I confronted Vincent, he brushed it off. "Just streamlining expenses," he said. But I knew that tone. The one that warned you not to ask questions he didn't think you'd understand. So I started saving files, cross-referencing invoices, creating a trail. I consulted Teresa, a sharp corporate whistleblower attorney. She told me what to do. Document everything. Don't act until you're ready. I didn't. I waited. Until Friday. Friday morning. The city buzzed as usual, but I felt it. Something electric under the surface. I dressed with care. Deep blue blouse, gold earrings, calm before the storm. By 9:15 a.m., it began. Vincent stormed from his office, face flushed, slamming the door hard enough to echo. His assistant vanished. He didn't know yet, but I did. The board had received an anonymous tip 10 minutes earlier, complete with names, dates, wire transfers, and supporting documents. The tip had come from me. By 10 a.m., the company's general counsel, Barbara, arrived. She didn't handle operations. She handled crises. At 11 a.m., HR called me in. Denise smiled tightly. "Just checking in," she said. "Want to make sure you're okay with everything." "I'm fine," I said. "It's been a productive week." She swallowed hard. She didn't know what I knew, but she could feel it. HR always could. I gave them nothing. At 12:45, my phone buzzed. "We received your report. Please remain in the building. A board compliance representative will meet with you shortly." It had begun. 2:30 p.m. I entered the conference room for my final exit interview. But this time, Vincent wasn't there. Denise sat stiffly. Beside her was a man in a gray suit. "Kelly," he said, standing. "James Price, internal counsel for the board. I'd like to ask you a few questions before we finalize your departure." "Of course," I said, calm. He opened a folder. Inside, one of my exhibits. Printed in color, stamped, confidential. The fuse had been lit, and the explosion had arrived. The silence in the conference room was suffocating, so thick I could hear the wall clock ticking behind me. James Price, the board's internal counsel, didn't bother with small talk. "We've reviewed your report," he said, voice calm. "Precise. What you provided is extensive." I nodded once. It needed to be. Beside him, Denise from HR sat frozen, palms clenched in her lap, eyes locked on the table. This wasn't an exit interview anymore. It was a legal pre-briefing, and she knew it. James continued. "Several of the financial documents you submitted suggest serious breaches of fiduciary duty. Some could constitute fraud, if verified." "They're already verified," I said evenly. "Check the audit trail in the internal system. Every document I included is time-stamped and recorded. Those aren't my opinions. They're Stratwell's own records." He regarded me in silence for a long moment. I met his gaze without flinching. "What do you want from this, Kelly?" I folded my hands on the table. "I don't want anything. I'm leaving today as planned. I'm not here to blow this up in the press. I'm not here for revenge." "Then why submit it?" "Because if I hadn't, no one would. And because people like Vincent don't get to crush careers for sport and walk away untouched." A beat passed. James gave a slight nod and closed the folder in front of him. "We appreciate your discretion," he said. "The board will begin an emergency investigation immediately. We've already frozen Vincent's financial access and begun a full audit. We'll likely need to follow up with you over the next few weeks." I stood, slinging my bag over my shoulder. "You know where to find me." And with that I walked out, not as the woman being shown the door, but as the one who had opened it.